The show.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Maryam Mkwanda show on Salam Media. It is 11:35 on this Monday, the 30th of November, 2020. All right. Today we're going to be talking about parasomnias. If you'd like to find out what parasomnias are, then do stay tuned. They are sleeping disorders classified. They are a class of sleeping disorders, and I'm not going to give you a lot more information about them because I don't know much. But the person who can is JD Uys, who is a sleep and fatigue consultant and the founder of Arkels Sleep Health Consultants. Good morning, JD.
Hi, Maryam. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, and yourself.
Very well, thank you.
Now, we previously spoke about sleep paralysis as well as idiopathic hypersomnia. Now, what is or what are parasomnias?
Well, sleep paralysis is a part of the parasomnia group. Parasomnia are a group of sleep illnesses that happens when some people have actions or something happens with them during their sleep. They have abnormal behaviors like eating and walking and having extreme nightmares when they are asleep.
Mm-hmm. What causes parasomnia disorder?
Usually, again, like all the other sleep illnesses or most of the other sleep illnesses, it's related to stress and anxiety, and also some other psychological illnesses like post-traumatic stress disorder. Insomnia is a big cause, and also other sleep disorders like sleep apnea. Also, people with irregular sleep routine, or people who work night shifts or have, transitioning in shifts when they sometimes they work day shift, sometimes they work night shift, and that may also be a cause. And also a very important one is sleep deprivation. If you can't sleep properly, if you don't sleep the necessary quantity of hours, you're also acceptable to having a parasomnia, some type of a parasomnia.
And
Yes.
how do parasomnias commonly present?
Well, it depends on the type of parasomnias. There's a whole lot of parasomnias. For instance, sleep eating, sleep walking, a REM sleep disorder. We call it, where people act out their dreams. Sometimes how it presents is that people are usually confused. They don't know that they're doing it. That's the number one reason. So, for instance, a sleep eater or a sleep walker or somebody who has night terrors don't know they are acting out in that way. So they may present that they are very confused. Some of them don't remember anything except for the REM sleep behavior or the night terror, the REM sleep behavior disorder, where somebody is in REM sleep and they physically act out their dreams. Once they are awakened, they can recall what they were doing, and they can also, they're immediately sorry, and they know exactly what happened. During the other sleep disorders like the sleep eating and the sleepwalking type of bedwetting, etc., are not. People don't know they are doing it. They cannot recall it. They also act confused, and they have this glassy look in their eyes if they are busy with an episode of experiencing an parasomnia.
Now, can someone get a parasomnia disorder anytime in their life?
Yes, it's usually more prevalent in childhood, in children. However, in children, we must remember that in children it happens due to sometimes attention deficit disorder or children with a psychological problems. It may appear, but it's also important to remember that children, their sleep cycle, their sleep drive and sleep chronorhythm, chronotype is not yet set, so they are more acceptable for experiencing a parasomnia, but they usually grow out of it in adulthood. As they enter adolescence, they usually grow out of it. The prevalence, quite interestingly, with the parasomnias are quite low. The prevalence is about just under 5%, depending on the type of behavior, depending on the type of parasomnia. However, with patients with a sleep breathing disorder like sleep apnea, the parasomnia prevalence is about 43%. It's quite high when it's associated with a sleep, breathing disorder like sleep apnea.
All of these sleeping disorders sound so scary. It's like, man, there's so much that goes on. I mean, I've heard about sleepwalking and sleep talking, but
Yes,
I haven't heard
yes.
about sleep eating.
Yeah, sleep eating. If it's not, sleep eating and the sleepwalking and sleep talking and so forth. It's important to. It is not that prevalent. It's usually associated with another sleep disorder, psychological disorder, but also it is quite a scary, especially for the spouse or the bed partner. It's quite a scary scenario because nobody knows what's going on. And there are several other type of sleep parasomnias. Exploding head syndrome, we get it when people wake up with a sudden headache. Confusional arousals, night terrors, where people they act out their dreams. Sleep terrors are usually not associated with the REM sleep. They are REM sleep behavior disorder. They're almost the same. But in REM sleep behavior disorder, people also act out their dreams. But as I said earlier, they know exactly, when they wake up, they know exactly what happened. With the night terror, people they also act out their dreams. They're experiencing an extreme nightmare and they act it out, but they don't know about it. They can't also recall it. Then nightmares are also a type of a parasomnia, but I must make the extinction here that nightmares are, when I'm talking about nightmares, I'm talking about the type of nightmares that's debilitating to your sleep. Every one of us experiences nightmares sometime or another, but the moment it influences your sleep quality and quantity, and you keep on waking up from it, and you can't get good restorative sleep from it, then it's a parasomnia. So usually that is associated with post-traumatic stress disorder. Nightmares, yeah.
What about narcolepsy?
Narcolepsy is not necessarily a parasomnia. Let me just check my notes here. It's not necessarily a parasomnia. Narcolepsy is a daytime illness. In other words, it is something. Narcolepsy is when people physically, they don't have control over their sleeping. They just fall asleep. They experience what we call a muscle loss, and they fall asleep and they don't necessarily have control over it. A parasomnia is usually that happens while you are falling asleep, staying asleep, and waking up. In other words, you have control over your sleep, and while you are in that sleep phases and stages, falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up, then you can experience a parasomnia. So it happens usually in some of the sleep stages, usually in slow wave or deep sleep, or in REM sleep, in the case of REM sleep behavior disorder. So narcolepsy is a total different type of sleep illness. It's also classified on its own.
Right, JD, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'd like to talk about managing parasomnias.
Fantastic. Okay, I'm looking forward. Okay.
Right.
As the crisis in Yemen continues, 80% of the population are in desperate need of basic necessities. The Africa Muslims Agency teams are on the ground undertaking emergency relief efforts. Come to the aid of the people of Yemen by donating any amount now towards food, shelter, and medication. Contact AMA now on 011 834 8685. Africa Muslims Agency, inspiring the spirit of giving.
Dad, well, I've been chatting with an investment broker today and...
Broker? Did the broker tell you that our economy is a mess? There's bushfires in Australia, America wanted World War III, and now the coronavirus is traveling around the world.
Well, I also thought about purchasing some crypto.
Crypto? What's that, like another pyramid scheme? I don't trust what I can't see.
There's an apartment in Belito.
So only a family will be asking to stay there for free. And what if the government takes it away, eh?
Dad, I don't think it works like that.
I'll tell you what works. Gold. At your age, I invested in gold coins and it paid for your university fees and your wedding. No contracts, no agreements. Your investment is in your hands and you own it. With a 70% growth in only 5 years, do you still doubt gold investment? Contact RJ Coin today, 031 202 4701, or visit them at 151 Stephen Lamini Road in Musgrave, Durban. Randery Jewelers Gold Coin Exchange, your passport to gold investment.
Enduran Boys College ke sekolo sa boarding and day se se ikemego se agilwe meleng wa lephefo wa N1 Polokwane. Re tlhotlheletsa thuto ye tlhwatlhwa ya monagano le maikutlo lefelong la maleba la go akaretsa botlhe. Re busha re latela melago ya NCS CAPS curriculum. Ra ba ra neela ka madulo a bashimane ba mphato wa botshelela go fitlha ka marematlou. Ebile re na le didirishwa tsa boarding tsa mphato wa botshelela go ba fitlha ka marematlou. Maikemišetšo a Enduran College ke go fana ka thuto ya boleng jwa maemo a godimo bjo bo tlhotlheletšago botho. Enduran College ke legae la bobedi la polokego le totego. E ngwadišitšwe le lefapha la thuto e le go Umalusi. Tsebo ka botlalo e hwetša nomorong ya 078 452 6264, 078 452 6264. Re hwetša gape go Facebook le Instagram goba o re romele email go polokwane@endurancolleges.co.za.
This is Salam Media, and you are tuned into the Maryam Mkwanda Show.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Maryam Mkwanda Show on Salam Media, and we are talking about parasomnias today with our sleep and fatigue consultant and the founder of Arkels Sleep Health Consultants, JD Uys. JD, thank you for staying on the line with us. Now, how are specific parasomnias managed? Like you've mentioned that there are a whole lot of them. So just talk to us about the most common ones and how they are managed.
Parasomnias are luckily the type of parasomnias, as I mentioned earlier, the eaters, the sleepwalkers, the nightmares, the REM sleep behavior disorders. They are most of them are managed in the same way. Some other parasomnias, just for interest's sake, sleep texting is also relatively a new parasomnia that we get. And then also sleep driving, that's associated with sleepwalking, and then also sleep scratching, where people scratch themselves at night. Also, importantly, it's important to diagnose it. The type of sleep illness, in this case, a parasomnia, to distinguish whether it's a REM sleep behavior disorder or one of the other parasomnias, like the eaters and the walkers, etc. So we usually take down a very good medical and sleep history from the patient, and it also may be necessary to do a sleep study, an overnight sleep study in a lab, to try and see what underlying sleep conditions they are. In terms of the treatment are basically in three ways. It's either with medication. It can be treated with some type of medication, like antidepressants, etc., or some other type of psychological intervention. Also psychological therapy, like cognitive behavior therapy, can also help. And then also home treatments. The home treatment is not a treatment on its own, but rather a way to manage the parasomnia patient while they are undergoing treatment. And the home treatments are basically especially with children. We can have, especially with children with bedwetting, that's also classified as a parasomnia, where you can schedule certain wake-up times about half an hour when the bedwetting usually occurs, and get the child to go to the bathroom and then guide them back. That may help while you are monitoring and getting the parasomnia treated. And a very, very, very important way of a home remedy, not a remedy, but more home management action that you can do is to make the sleep environment safe. Obviously, the person doesn't know what's happening to him. They're not even aware that they are, acting out. So the sleep environment must be safe. And sometimes, in many cases, it involves that the bed partner needs to sleep in another room. We had cases in the past. It gets media attention quite a lot where people strangle their wives at night, and then the bed partner passes away, and then, obviously it is a tragic event, but that's also classified as a parasomnia. So safety is the golden word here, in terms of making it both safe for the patient and for the bed partner as well.
And how long does the treatment is supposed to last for, or how long does it take to be treated?
Well, usually, luckily, if we can get to the bottom of the parasomnia, if we can get to the underlying cause, for instance, a breathing disorder, sleep breathing disorder, or something like insomnia or something like that, then it can take about 6 weeks. Then obviously the underlying cause are then treated. And that can take everything from a week to about 6 weeks, depending on the patient. When it comes to children, it's important they usually grow out of it during adolescence, when they enter adulthood. But also it's important to get the child to a psychologist or a sleep therapist or to a doctor, just to monitor it and see if there's not an underlying cause. Usually it's associated with some type of attention deficit disorder, and then they can usually manage it. It's debilitating to the parents because the parents continuously have to wake up. But to answer your question, it may get better with therapy in about a month or two, as it progresses. Some cases doesn't get better, but they usually grow out of it.
Now, for a child who has experienced, let's say, bedwetting when they were a child, and then into the adulthood they experience sleepwalking or sleep talking, is it resulted because of what they went through in their childhood?
Yes, it's quite an interesting case that you mention now, because as we grow old, we are establishing our circadian rhythms, and as you grow old and you don't learn proper sleep, what we call sleep hygiene, you don't learn the proper way to sleep, and you carry that over into adulthood, it may lead to that. I can't find any data, scientific data that corresponds with that transitioning from childhood to adulthood. But if we take down a medical and sleep history, usually adult patients had some of them carried it over from childhood, and others didn't. It just happened, from experiencing a bad sleep behavior or unhealthy sleep behavior, or suffering from another condition like sleep apnea.
And as the person who is the partner, when they sleep talk, can you make out what they're trying to say?
Usually you can, and that's the interesting. That's why I like treating a patient with parasomnia, because the stories, I can tell you the stories that the people say are quite funny sometimes, and the stress that it causes in the relationship sometimes. Usually we treat the patient and we treat the partner as well, because the partner and the patient needs to understand where it's coming from. They need to understand that there's no control over it, okay, and it needs to be treated, and they mustn't take it literally. Okay, so whatever is said or whatever is eaten, or the actions that was done, it's not, they mustn't take, the paid partners mustn't take it personal. But it is quite it is quite the interesting type of sleep behavior. Yeah.
I can just imagine partners there sitting and waiting for something for them to say something, and then they'll be like, "Let me record this right now."
Yes, yeah. Yes, they sometimes do, and it's quite scary sometimes. It sounds like a horror movie if you listen to it, because it's the poor patient doesn't understand where it's coming from. They don't remember it at all. Sometimes they even deny it, and it's quite a scary situation for both the partner and the patient.
I'm usually
Yeah.
just like when I'll tell the partner, you know what, you said something during your sleep, and when he asked me what did I say, I'm like, I have no idea. I wasn't even paying attention, but you said something.
Yes. So it's the important thing is just to make it safe for both you and the patient. So the safety is everything. We yes, I can tell you stories. We had children that literally they ran away from home and they didn't even know about it. Young children, as young as 8 or 9 years old, they woke up, they went out of the house, out of the front door, out in the streets, and they literally ran away, and they didn't know about it. So it is quite scary. But then again, it's not that prevalent. Okay, it is usually in under 5%, sometimes under 3% of the cases that experiencing it. Usually, as I said, when it has to do with children, there is some underlying cause of separation anxiety, maybe a parent that just passed away, or some traumatic event that happened to them. They can have a parasomnia. Children can have parasomnias as well. So it's usually associated with some kind of other psychological event or psychological behavior that's attached to that.
Well,
Sometimes, yeah.
under 5%, that's a good thing to know. JD, please share with us your contact details once again.
Okay, my contact details is email info at arkelshc.com, or people can leave a text message or phone me on 082 560 6872, and my website address is www.arkelshc.com.
All right, so thank you so much for the chat and for the information, and have a wonderful day.
You too, Maryam. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. That was JD Uys, the founder of Arkels Sleep Health Consultants, who's also a sleep and fatigue consultant. If you have a parasomnic disorder, or if you have a hypersomnia disorder, or whatever other sleep disorder that you might be having, or your child, your friend, your family, anyone, you can get in touch over Arkels Sleep Health Consultants, and they will gladly assist you. Go to www.arkelshc.com, or send an email to info@arkelshc.com. That's Arkel with a K, ARKELSHC.com. You are listening to the Maryam Mkwanda Show on Salam Media, and we will be right back.